Hello, good evening. Welcome to Minority Caucus for today, Wednesday, the 30th of January 2012. Today we are trying to expose the lies of the National Democratic Congress, the NDC. My name is Nana Kofi Opon Damwa, as usual, your host every day, and I continue to be your loyal servant. With me today to discuss the issues at hand is one key member of the MPP communications team, and his name is Mr. Asamoah Gyamfi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, today we have heard a lot of things and we'll be dealing with them one by one as and when it comes up. We have the NPP's court case and the propaganda surrounding it. We have the Let My Vote Count coalition or alliance and the attempts of the security forces to also deal with them in various ways, as well as other different propaganda that have come out in the public domain. I have consistently mounted a campaign against the propaganda of the NDC. I have received a lot of support and commendation for that. Mr. Asamoah Gyamfi, first of all, how do you understand propaganda in modern day political communication? And do you think it is important in modern day political communication?
Well, if indeed we want to develop this country, we must not use propaganda in our quest to develop this country. Because propaganda simply means that throw the mud, as much mud as possible against your opponent, and some will stick, okay? And indeed, if you want to develop a country, you mustn't adopt the strategy or the attitude of throwing mud, twisting facts, confusing people, okay? Just so that you keep yourself in power. I always, tell my friends in the NDC that you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. The fact of the case is that if you should lie once, you must lie several times over to defend or to cover up of the previous lie. Okay, so it is not the best. We do not need it in our and indeed countries that adopted propaganda as a means of governing this country, or governing their countries, have fallen out of the way. The one who really used it effectively was Hitler. Okay, eventually, with all that he did, it crumbled. The Soviet Union and many other countries like Cuba and co. adopted it. Today, they are crumbling. No one believed that property owning the principles will be adopted by countries like Cuba. Today, Cuba is allowing people to make profit and to buy property. Okay, so clearly, propaganda should not be used in our modern day politics. Anybody who adopts that should be scorned by the people and rejected by the people.
Now, the basic question that most Ghanaians want to find out is that, are there any negative effects of propaganda? Really?
Sadly, the reality is that this country is moved purely on perception than reality. And so when you throw mud at people, people tend to take it whole and sinker. And that is the danger we face in this country. You see people well-educated, degree holders, and to me are not far from what I call the propaganda bug. Okay, once they hear it, they don't research to find out the facts surrounding it, and they take it whole and sinker, leading to incompetence, abuse of office, and misapplication of funds, and use of public funds for party political gain instead of the national benefit. So sadly, 90% of Ghanaians believe in propaganda. That is the reality.
Okay. Now let's deal with one of them, for instance, that came up during the electioneering campaign period. The one that was brought up by the so-called research and advocacy platform about Nana Akufo-Addo's his curriculum vitae, his CV. Now they said that he had hidden his CV and sought to put all sorts of things in place. What do you think the sum effect of all of that was?
You see, and the one who was trying to give credence to it, Chachu Chikata,
yes,
a graduate, okay, a well-renowned person, and all he could do was just throw the thing out there, okay, and could not make specific, all in the view of giving credence to it to discredit his own legal friend. Chachu and Nana have worked before, okay, as co-lawyers, defended case together. He should have known and told those propagandists, okay, reach an advocate for and say, no, don't go that far. But he was on radio, trying to give some sort of semblance of a reality to the whole question.
Now,
okay?
you see, one of the interesting things that you find out is that, a reply for that particular issue came from the Oxford University. And I have here a copy of the reply, a letter you can see on the letterhead that stated, and I'd want to read to you a very interesting paragraph of it, that he said that he, that is Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, does not appear to use his limited Oxford connection to try to secure an advantage in his political life and the forthcoming election in particular. Would you say that that propaganda fell flat on its face?
You see, there is this. The fact of the case is this: propaganda is not about truth. And even if you try to come up with the truth, the principle, let's throw mud at him, and it's the first mud that sticks. For instance, they tried to tag Nana Addo as being arrested on the New York airport and being searched, and then because he's a foreign affairs minister, the American law left him off the hook. Okay, please, there is no one is above the law in a country like the United States of America, such that a minister of state is arrested with drugs on him and he's allowed to go. Nana Addo's team tried as much as they could to dispel that on radio. They wouldn't take it. It took years. A letter comes from the airport that they have never, airport security, the New York airport security, that Nana Addo has never been arrested at. You know what they went back to say? No, they expected a reply to come from what do you call it? The DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency of America. Why? The object is to throw mud at a person.
Okay.
Okay. So, yes, this thing came. The good thing is that they could not continue with it. But the fact is that the damage had already been done.
Okay.
All right. That is the object of propaganda. It is not about speaking about facts. It's about throwing mud, whether it is real or not. It is only in this country that I can look into your face and say that you are having extramarital affair. And when I tell prove it, I'll then also ask you, come and tell me it's a lie before I prove it. That's what we're saying with this country. Once I hate you, I just look around, tag you with something, and when you challenge me to prove it, you understand? Then he will tell you that come and deny it, or come and deny that indeed you are not the one. A typical one is what happened today, this morning on Adom FM, where I think the editor of Informer is accusing Titus Glover of castigating the National Executive in an MPP meeting held at the MPP headquarters last Thursday. You know it. Did you hold any meeting last Thursday?
There was no such meeting.
Now, when Titus comes to say it is not true, the man says that he has him on tape. Now the host, now the host says, when are you bringing the tape? He said, between now onwards, I'll bring you the tape. Meanwhile, he's published it in the newspaper. You understand? So the object of propaganda is not to speak about facts. It is about giving a dog a bad name and hanging it psychologically, or what do you call it, morally, or the person's personality. That's all we do in this country. And by so doing, you know the danger? That path taken by the NDC means that decent and honest people will never get into politics. Because when he goes into it, and my boss Jake has been telling me something, that if you want to know who your real mother is, go into politics. Because Ghanaians will show you who your real mother is.
Definitely.
You understand?
Yeah.
So clearly, these things have a negative effect on the country as a whole. Apart from the fact that you keep the people blind and not letting them know reality, and so for that matter, the country retrogresses. The second thing also is that you, based upon that, it psychologically frustrates good people who otherwise would have contributed to the development in this country if political position were entrusted into their hands. Friends will say, hey, you are going into this thing, you're going to be in trouble. And so naturally, he'll back off.
And we face that on a daily basis.
Daily basis. You understand? Because they can just come and throw something at you without any basis whatsoever, without any truth to it. Okay? And yet, it becomes a stigma. It becomes something against you. And no matter what you do, they continue repeating it.
Let's now pick the propaganda one by one and deal with it as it may. Let's look at, for instance, this current court case that is before. The first thing that came out was that the president cannot be sued. It looks as though the NDC has backed off from that.
You see, the NDC, when I listen to them, I think they do not know the gravity of the case we have against them. A typical example, and I think that the General Secretary gave the most childish logic yesterday. You know, trying to cite the evidence we have or comparing the evidence we have as against someone buying oranges from a supplier and 1,700 of those oranges going bad, and the man tells you bring those 1,500 oranges and you say no. No, that's not what we're talking about. Do you have duplicates of oranges? Do we? We don't have duplicates of oranges. What we're saying is that there are irregularities across 4,709 polling stations. We have the duplicate sheets, and they easily have the original sheets. So we cannot give you a duplicate sheets, which is the basis for which we are in court. Number one, you are denying all the, what do you call it, the irregularities we have mentioned. You understand? And you have a duplicate sheet. The onus lies on the EC to do an internal search, check through all their red sheets or a statement of poll sheets, and then establish what is there. Why must we come and give you? So our evidence can never be compared to supply of oranges. Because when I supply you oranges, I don't keep a duplicate of that orange, do I?
Okay, but the initial question is that, you see, I want us to deal with the propaganda one by one.
Yes, I'll come at that.
Okay.
The NDC have been shifting posts. You go and check. When Nanadu stood at Obra Sport and said, we are not going to accept, the National Council says we will not accept the declaration of John Mahama as president and that we are going to court. What did they say? We can't go to court.
We don't have evidence.
We don't have evidence. Nanadu just said that so that the party people stop putting pressure on him. That's what they said. Okay? And they kept on saying, we'll never go to court. You see, we'll never get to court. In the last minute, we were in court. You understand? So, clearly, they know that part of their, position is to confuse. Because propaganda too is confuse the issues. So people do not understand the facts. Now, we go to court. They come and say, you were saying fraud to the general public and to your members. Now you go to court and you are adducing irregularities. That is inconsistent. The reality, the question they refuse to answer and even per their own response is that, is it true that there were over 200,000 votes that presiding officers did not sign? Is it true that there are over 600,000 overvotes? They don't respond to it. Is it true that there are over 400,000 people who never went through verification machine? They did not respond to it. Is it true that 1 out of every 8 votes that were cast were casted in irregularity? They don't answer those things, do they? They don't.
Which are the facts?
These are the facts that NPP has presented. They have never ever proved one. They came and said, we don't know numbers. We don't know figures, right? Per the sheet, one polling station sheet.
We don't understand, yes.
We don't understand figures.
Yes.
Okay? And because when you add the votes attained by all the candidates, it's indeed 227. Yes?
Yeah.
But they fail to recognize that in the last bit, how many rejected votes? You said 14.
Yeah.
That 14 should be part of the total number of ballot papers that are supposed to be in the box.
Yeah.
Because the question is, total number of ballots, A plus B. Is that not it?
Yeah.
So the A is valid votes, the B is invalid votes.
Yeah.
So how come that the A is 227, which is the papers that have been, ballot papers that have been issued, and the B becomes 14? Where did the 14 come from? That is the irregularity we are talking about.
And that's the propaganda.
And that is the propaganda they are spinning.
Let's deal with the other one. I have heard several pundits of the NDC say that, you can only have overvoting when the number of votes cast is more than the number of people in the register.
You see, I keep on saying that they don't understand. And I always keep this red sheet with me. Okay? And I hope the camera will do us a favor. Okay? This is the red sheet.
Okay. If you allow me.
And every number on it is backed by a regulation. Okay? In B, it says that it's rather C, ballot accounting. The first question is that to be filled in at end of the poll before counting commences. Right? So that before you go to open, the presiding officer goes to open the ballot box. He must fill from 1 to 6. Right? And 1 to 6, the first question is that what is the number of ballot issued to voters on the polling station register? That's the first question. The reason why it's there is that so that you don't falsify figures at the end. You get my point? So that you don't add in any other ballots when it exceeds the total.
Yeah.
Now, if, as we present in our evidence, in this question, the officer say 227.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then beneath it, the last question is that total votes in ballot box A plus B. The A is valid votes. The B is rejected ballots. And then it ends up at 291. Okay? Meanwhile, when you add the votes attained by all valid votes attained by all the candidates is 227. Right? So the 14 that came to add to it, where did it come from? That is an irregularity. And we all heard Dr. Forijan saying that even if a single vote exceeds, what will he do?
He will cancel
the
He
results.
actually did that in some parts of the country.
And in some parts of the country, returning officers indeed cancel the results.
Yeah.
So do you have two standards in this election? So if the MPP thinks that these irregularities amount to tarnishing or messing up with the total votes, and the principle was that if it exceeds, it must be set aside, it must be cancelled. Why do you cancel some polling stations, and in some polling stations it is not cancelled?
Thank you very much, Mr. Samajemfi, for that very valid explanation. And so the point is that why do you cancel some and why do you leave some? We have one rule, and Ghana must conform with the rules that we set for ourselves. Propaganda definitely is not the way to go. Please stay with us as we go for our first break. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. Today we are exposing the lies of the NDC, the propaganda that they have sought to put out there in the public domain to confuse the supporters of the NPP. What we are saying is that propaganda is never the way to go. What we are saying is that lies untold are things that are best. When they become told ones, then we have to defend ourselves from all of this. Mr. Samajemfi, now next I want you to deal with the fact that they said because our polling agents were there, there couldn't have been irregularities.
You see, Dr. Farijan issued this manual to polling agents. Okay? Now, in page 13, clearly it's stated there that do not handle any election material without the permission of the presiding officer. That's the number one duty. 2, do not try to supervise the work of the polling staff. So they should come and tell us. Is it our agents that were holding the pen to write? You're telling him not to supervise. So what the man writes, it is then presupposed that the presiding officer know what he's doing and will put in the right figures. Is that not it? So even when you write it, he doesn't even have the right to vet what the presiding officer has done. Because trying to vet it is a form of supervision. You get the point?
We understand
So
that.
this is the regulation governing it. So the very fact.
If you can help me, give me the exact page that this is coming from.
Page 13. The do and don'ts is listed from page 12.
Okay.
What a polling agent must do and not do. It starts from page 12 and end at page 13.
Okay.
You understand? So clearly there are rules. There are some lines drawn in the sand. The duty of the responsibility of an agent. So if the man writes everything, and indeed because of that, there were some instances where they made some polling stations to even sign their names before, because it's getting late. So you sign it, I'll enter the rest. And one of the the EU representative who came in one of the polling stations at the was complaining that elections have not been completed, and when he went, the forms have already been signed by the agents. Who asked them to do that? If it's the presiding officer who asked them to do it, it is wrong. For the presiding officer should have invited them. I don't think the agents just decided to pick the declaration sheets and say we'll sign and go. It is wrong for it to be signed before it is entered.
Okay.
Okay. So clearly, our agents, yes, signed, but that does not, what do you call it?
Invalidate our right.
Our right to go to court. Or that does not also mean that the returning officer, do you know that the duty of the returning officer is also not just look at the last figure and enter in? The returning officer must audit point by point, all from A up to D. He must vet it and make sure that there is reconciliation to the total number of ballot papers issued to them, the total number of ballot issued to the polling station, and to the total number of ballot issued at the polling station. The balance, the remaining, all of them must be accounted for. So the duty of the returning officer, the collation center, is not just look at the votes just attained by candidates and write them. He must first go through this. And if he finds out that there's irregularity,
he cancels it.
He cancels it. Okay. That is what happened in those polling stations.
Very cool. Yeah.
So
in short, what you're saying is that propaganda cannot hold, because you cannot, shed your responsibilities and say somebody else must be blamed.
That's right.
Basic point.
Basic, because the polling agent have been told not to supervise. What is supervision? Supervision is finding out, no, you have to write it 200. No, you have written 300. So stop it. You've told the agent not to supervise.
Let's deal with the God propaganda. The God propaganda. I've seen billboards out there that says that, you have a president with his hands raised and says that fulfilling the will of God. Some say that it is the will of God that John Dramani Mahama becomes president of Ghana.
You see, Otabel says something, that voting has nothing to do with the will of God, and I agree with him. Do you know that in Genesis, God has given man's own destiny, his will, the will to form his own destiny into man's own hands? You get the point? He gave Adam the right to good and to life, and said, Adam, choose. So when it comes about choices, God doesn't decide for man. It is not biblical. God doesn't. Okay? When it comes to choices, it is the individual who must ask for God's wisdom for whatever there is. And what that decision you take, it is your cause and not God's cause. So let's get hold this thing out, that it is God who have chosen for us. Let's get it out. Number 2, Paul in Colossians said his life has been hidden in Christ and in God. What it means is that if the enemy wants to get Paul, he must first go and conquer God, okay? Cut the belly of God, take out Christ, fight Christ, defeat him, kill him, cut the belly of Christ before attacking Paul. But this same Paul, when the Jews were planning to kill him, plotted that they would waylay him on his way from Jerusalem to Antioch. You know what Paul did? He went to the court. Paul, whose shadow could heal, whose handkerchief could heal, went to court. He didn't say in the name of Jesus Christ. The very Paul who said his life is hidden in Christ in God, okay, had to, invoke the laws of the Romans to protect his life.
Interesting. Very interesting point. Now let's come again. Most of the party supporters are worried by the actions of Dr. Reko Brobe, the man who got about 25 votes when he stood for the chairmanship.
It's not 25 or 16.
Of the NPP. Yeah. He was yesterday on Good Evening Ghana, and he's made a couple of statements out there. What do you think of all of this?
You see, the man is egoistic. He told a lie, and I have to tell Ghanaians.
First of all, you have said that he voted without biometric verification.
Yes. He should come and say it's not true. He knows it. He went there 3 times. The police station is behind Fiesta Royal. He went there 3 times. The machine won't accept him. So after the 3rd time, I asked for you, we know you. So come and vote. So he himself.
Which was an illegality.
He himself, as a citizen, should have gone out to tell the whole world and said, then there's something wrong with the elections. He didn't do that.
And what is also interesting is that when he got 16 votes at the NPP chairmanship race, he wanted to go to court.
Yes, claiming that the diaspora who could not come delegated people to vote by proxy. And he felt that was man in what they call it. It was fraudulent. For that matter, he was going to take the whole party on, get the court to annul the elections.
Isn't it strange that he manages to find logic in the fact that when he lost an election where he obtained just about 16 votes, he found it valid to talk about going to court.
Yes.
But a national election,
Yes.
he doesn't see the reason in going
You
to
see,
court.
the logic I don't get from him is, oh, leave it. Let's go into the next election. In 1992, when we boycotted the parliamentary election, he attacked Professor Dubois, he attacked Nana Addo and Co. for boycotting the 1992 elections, parliamentary elections. His reason was that we should go to parliament and make our case. Our reason was that the electoral process as it stood then was not transparent enough to get MPP into power. Now he tends to forget that President Rawlings then treated the opposition with disdain. Anytime President Rawlings mounted a platform, he was always castigating the opposition. But when we boycotted it, in fact, in his maiden address to the nation as elected president of this guy, he castigated the opposition. He lampooned the opposition. The following year, 6 March, realizing the impact of non-opposition in parliament on his government, he stretched an olive branch to the opposition. And on 6 March 1993, said that it is about time government begin dialoguing with the opposition. That is the benefit of our boycott in 1992. If we had accepted the electoral process as it stood in 1992, we wouldn't have had transparent ballot boxes. That time, the ballot boxes we were using were wooden and black. Yes, and that time the ballot box was in a classroom. You thumbprint in a classroom and put the ballot box in there. That was a regulation then. That time you didn't have a voter ID card. It was a voter slip with only your name written on it, not even your age or your sex written on it. It was brown like this. When we said that we are not going to parliament because we think the electoral process is not transparent enough to guarantee a free and fair elections. And when we did it, it compelled the government, President Rawlings then, who was hostile to the opposition, to strengthen an olive branch. The result of which, the American government brought in the International Federation of Electoral System, called IFES, to begin the process of our electoral reformation. The President Rawlings then said that government had no money for transparent ballot boxes, government had no money for photo ID. But out of that dialogue, the international community felt that we'll bring in the transparent ballot boxes. And the Danish government brought it. The British government brought in the photo ID. Beginning, we were demanding for photo nationwide. They said, no, the money is not enough for photo nationwide, and that they will do urban areas photo and rural areas thumbprint. You understand? So our position have always yielded to some benefit. But before I forget, Dr. Raku Brebre indulged, he lied through his teeth. And I don't think he has conscience. He claims that it is out of his party's mobilization of polling agents in the second round that secures victory. That's a lie. That is absolutely a lie. And it's an insult like people like John Boadu and Co. in 1992 who were sent, on their way in 2000, on their way to supervise, to act as polling agents. They were stopped on the way and brought back by National Security 64 Battalion there. Where was he, Raku Brebre? Because in the first round, Raku Brebre, this same Raku Brebre, left our party in 2000. You know the reason? Yeah. He said our party is full of septuagenarians who are not bent on winning power and cannot win power in 2000. That's the basic reason why he left.
Septuagenarians?
Yes. He said our chairmen were old.
Words.
Yes, our chairmen were old. They were not dynamic. They were not in tune with politics of the day.
I don't know if he thinks he's a young man today, but perhaps if he's forgotten, he's also a septuagenarian.
Well, that time he wasn't. No. That time he wasn't. That time, 2000, he wasn't.
Time really will tell.
You understand?
Yes.
That time he wasn't. But I'm letting people know.
I just want to take a break at this stage, okay, and then I'll come back for us to continue with the discussion. We are continuing to expose the lies and propaganda of the NDC. Welcome back to Minority Caucus. My name is Nana Kofi Opondamo, and I've been holding this discussion with Mr. Asamoah Gyamfi, a very senior member of the NPP communications team. Today we've been looking at exposing the lies of the NDC. Basically, we are trying to give answers to the various propaganda that they've sought to put out there in the public domain. Now, having dealt with Dr. Reku Brabe, and at this point I want us to move on because I think the point has been made clearly that he's insignificant to the fortunes of the NPP. One person seems to be on a rampage throughout Ghana. His name is Asiedu Nketia. Personally, I call him Professor Asiedu Nketia because he claims that he's, the entire NPP does not understand math, logic, but he only understands all of this. What do you think of his rantings? You see,
this is the man who says that, oh, any idiot can go to court, right? First, he's one of the people who say NPP is just trying to deceive his supporters, they won't go to court.
And it's interesting to note that on the 9th of December 2012, he was the first person actually to say that if we have any grievances, we should go to court.
That's right. So now we'll go to court and he says we are idiots. Okay? Then suddenly, we are in court, that he finds the need to go and join. Now the reason why I see him as a person, it is either he thinks we are joking, so he also wants to joke. You get the point? Because his explanation yesterday about comparison about oranges shows clearly he does not understand what we're talking about.
And then he says Philip Addison is inexperienced.
Because
Dr. Philip Addison?
Yeah, because Chachuchi Kata taught him. Yes. Chachuchi Kata might have taught him law. The reality is that Philip Addison is in court making cases. You understand? And he's defending a landmark case. What Chachuchi Kata is good at, and his speciality, is raising technicalities to delay cases. Just as exemplified by what he did 2 days ago. You know you have been allowed to join in the main suit, right? About a week ago.
Yeah.
You've been given 1 week to file a nomination. On the day to file your response. On the day you were filing your response, you knew this case was pending the following day. If it's not part of his delaying gimmick, why didn't he put in an application? A seasoned lawyer wouldn't have gone to embarrass himself before the judges. Because if you really knew, if Chachu really knew the rules of the court, which is basic and fundamental, he know that before you can be allowed to speak before any judge in this country on a pending matter, you should file an application expressing your interest in it. Did he do that?
But Asiedu Nketia doesn't seem to remember that.
So because, no, Asiedu Nketia is picking from the fact that Chachu told him that Chachu, when there was the banter in the court, then Chachu raised the whole point that some of you here, we've taught you before, so you must learn how to talk. So because Chachu said that, he felt that he could use that to create the impression that he's a young lawyer, and he doesn't know anything, and so he is coming, his master is coming to teach him law. If indeed his master knew law, Chachu Kata knew law, he should have done the proper thing and gone according to the court rules and not embarrass himself before court, wanting to waylay or bulldoze his way before the justices that he present, his case on the matter. So again, like I said, Asiedu Nketia do not understand the issues. He thinks it's a sort of blackmailing thing, or it is some arbitrary we are doing. That's how I see his mental frame. And I think that he, being a general secretary of a ruling government, has gone into his head. It's gone so much into his head.
Well, apparently he's rich. He's a block manufacturer.
You know, some of us saw who Krobaduse was and how he died. Some of us saw how Bedema was and how he died. So that thing he's doing, to some of us who know history, okay, we just are looking at them, looking at him. You get it. But the fact of the case is that as a general secretary, you don't go out on the platform and try to explain issues. You have Mr. Tudas, who is a lawyer, who is supposed to speak on the legal issues. Why must it be that he must always speak after Tudazi?
Perhaps the propaganda?
And to officiate the issues and try to confuse people. So he was talking about their request for better and what do you call it?
Further and better particulars.
Further and better particulars that we are running away. We are not running away from it. The reality is that Our position is that our evidence is based upon the red sheets. We have the duplicates of the red sheets. The EC have the originals, right? So why must we show you what there is? If you can change figures.
After you've denied
After
the fact
first you've come to court and say it is not true. What was the basis for what you say it's not true? Anyway, did we give them any documents when we raised about the difference in the registered voter of the 134,000, which they had told us this was 7,000? Did we give them any further and better particular before they responded to that? How come they arrived at that? And came to tell Ghanaians that, oh, it is out of the registration of people outside Ghana. Meanwhile, you tell the political party, I think they had forgotten that they told the political parties that it was 7,000. You tell political parties it was 7,000, and when the final register comes out, it is in excess.
241,000.
241,000.
Out of which 200,000 votes came in.
That's right. And then you're telling me it's from people from outside Ghana. Who and who? 200,000 Ghanaians are on government of Ghana payroll.
Outside the country.
Outside the country, scholarship, what do you call it? Diplomatic mission, military and police. The entire military force of Ghana is not up to 50,000. Police and what do you call it?
Military
combined. They are not. I don't know about prisons and fire service. I don't even think that we have more policemen and more military men than fire service and customs combined, right? So that was how we're able to respond. And so we are saying that these are things we are going to lead in evidence. And in any case, the EC can come and say, you know, they can come and deny that they didn't publish this. You know that?
Yeah.
They can come. Already. We have evidence. You know, they deny that some of the officers do not sign because they do not press their hands. We have evidence that they are, and that constitutes the reason why they have not paid most of their officers. Payment has not been done today, not that they have no money, but as a means of using it to get them to come and testify in their own way. That's why they haven't paid them. We have presiding officers who were called in 2 weeks ago to come and sign the portions they did not sign. So what is the guarantee that if we let them know the polling stations and the figures and the nature of evidence we have, they cannot come out with another thing?
Reports coming in today indicates that 7 biometric verification machines have been stolen from Amenfi East.
Yes. So
evidence tampering.
Why not?
And let's link this up to the office of Madam Gloria Kofo that was broken into recently. Right
from the word go, they broke into your car. Yeah. That's all part of it. They felt that some of us would be, you know, storing some of the things on our computer. They think we are that stupid. You understand? They broke into your car. It was all part of it. In one breath, they tell the whole country NPP had no case. NPP will lose. NPP is deceiving its members. You understand? Nanado wants to be
relevant in national affairs.
To be relevant in national affairs. All kinds of things. That's why we are in court. So why bother? Why the raid on our members of our legal team? Why the raid on our communication members? Why? If indeed we have no case, go to sleep. If indeed we have no case, why do you go and join President Mahama? Does that mean that President Mahama can defend himself?
Perhaps he's that incompetent?
Oh, incompetent? Because if you listen to the arguments they had 3 days ago, Electoral Commission, President Mahama, they all said the same thing. They all said the same thing. As if they went and rehearsed it. And believe you me, tomorrow, Chachu will say the same thing. You get it? So our argument was based upon the fact that, one, whatever you want to say can be said through the first responder.
Okay, now let's look at the re-emergence of certain individuals within this dispensation. Woyome, and then most importantly, the man who was at the center of Boatinjan police, Boatinjan. All of a sudden, they seem to be all over the airways making very bold statements.
You see, as for Woyome, I don't begrudge him. Because you know what? The man who's superintendent over the payment goes to stand for an election and wins.
Or supposedly wins.
Supposedly wins.
Yes.
By buying votes, he wins. He comes into parliament and he's made it first deputy speaker. So what is it? What is there? Number two, the main person in government who believed that he was fraudulently paid was thrown out of office. Is that not it?
Yeah.
Now you have the elements according to Martin Amidu, the very state prosecutors who were persuading him not to pursue the matter in court are the ones handling the case now. Is there any wonder that they're saying they have no evidence, they have no, what do you call it?
Witnesses.
Witnesses. And the reality is that if you have no witnesses,
you have no case.
You have no case. The judge will throw the case out. So he can say what he's saying by the simple reason that it is some form of collusion in the whole process. And they know imprisoning him means he's spilling the beans. And so they'll find a way and throw the case out. So as for Wyoming, that is what they're
watching Jan.
Yeah, watching that. I heard him 3 days ago that, oh, we are not going to keep quiet. We will respond to the NDC, MPP's lies. They don't have any evidence. But yes, they don't have any evidence. Have you been able to disprove the only one evidence we brought out? Have they? No. We say no verification, no vote. Then they'll say, no, that one is against the Constitution. It's against the Constitution. Is it true that people voted without going through verification? Yes. Is it true that people were prevented from voting because the machine could not verify them? Yes. Do we have 2 rules in this game? No. Or can there be 2 rules in one game? No. They don't defend that. So Boatinjan came ranting. But again, he did not respond to it. He's not talking about tactics. Okay? Does this tactics means falsification of results in 2016? The Hausa man will say, wallahi.
Wallahi.
It is never going to happen again.
Inshallah.
This falsification of figures will never happen in Ghana elections again. We will make sure that a proper and a better results entry system is introduced in the 2016 elections.
Let me put you on the spot, Mr. Samuel Gyamfi. Now you are speaking to the supporters of the NPP in 1 minute. What do you have to tell them?
All I'll tell my fellow Kukudais is this. The NPP's evidence is as solid as a rock of Gibraltar. Number 1. Number 2, the integrity of Nanado as an astute lawyer is in question here. If Nanado knew or knows that the evidence we have will not stand in the court of law, he wouldn't waste you and I's time, okay, to go to court. All we are telling you is that ignore the NDC's propaganda. Anytime they come before you and say we have no case, tell them they should give you one reason why that indeed there were no over 300,000 votes that was not signed by presiding officers. There were no over 400,000 votes that did not go through verification. There is indeed no 600,000 votes that were issued more than ballot papers issued. That were declared more than ballot papers issued. These are the evidence we have. And until and unless an NDC member can prove or disprove any of these,
don't believe them.
Don't believe them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samuel Gyamfi, for having been with us on this program. My name is Nana Kofi Opondamwa. Thank you for having watched us. We are still here. We are your loyal servants. Get in touch with us and let's save Mother Ghana. Good evening.